All right, so I am super excited for this video because we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite artists, songwriters, guitar players, so many things. This guy is my favorite in so many ways, and that is, of course, John Mayer. So I did a bit of research on John Mayer's songwriting thought process and the way that he approaches songwriting in particular. And outside of coming to even though I knew this beforehand, but outside of coming to this intense realization, that's such a great word to use there, this intense realization of how hilarious he is as a person. Like, you go watch any of his interviews and you just wish to God that you could be friends with him and just be able to like have a beer with the guy. He's so funny. His level of intellect is so great, but yet you feel like he's relatable in some way. And his use of metaphors is impeccable. Absolutely impeccable. So just a fantastic guy. Anyway, enough of the fawning over John Mayer. Let's actually dive in, and I'm going to share with you 3 insights that I learned, 3 incredible insights that are going to help you shape the way that you view your songs and your songwriting future. It's going to push you in the right direction. So I cannot wait for you to learn these insights. These are amazing. So the first insight that I learned from John Mayer is you'll always be a beginner songwriter. Yep. And that's coming from John Mayer himself. So here's a quote. And this was in an interview with, I forget the guy's name, but it was an interview with Apple Music. And you may have actually seen the interview. It's a very popular and well-produced interview as well. And this was the interview that was released right after his Sob Rock album came out. But anyway, one of his quotes in that interview is this: "As soon as you're done writing an A-plus song, you once again know nothing about writing. At the beginning of every song, you don't know anything. You're a baby. You're an infant." Think about that. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that just make you feel kind of nice? Hearing someone as accomplished as John Mayer say that it's normal and you should feel like you don't know what you're doing when you go to write your next song. That's such a relief, isn't it? I mean, if it's true for John Mayer that he goes into a new song and he feels like he doesn't know what he's doing and he feels kind of like he's a beginner, then why in God's name would you and I expect to feel anything else? It's okay to feel that imposter syndrome. Now, if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, if that's a new term for you, let me define it very quickly. So imposter syndrome is what you feel on, say, the first day of work at your new job. So you got these like new responsibilities and you're kind of doing the things, but you don't really feel like you belong there. And then here's the kicker, especially when you're early on in a new job and then perhaps you are talking to somebody and walking them through something in your work, but they don't know that you just got the job. They don't know that you're new and you feel like you're trying to fake it, right? You feel like you don't belong there, but you got to put on this like fake it till you make it, like I don't really belong here, but I guess I need to, you feel like an imposter. It's imposter syndrome. And it's the same feeling when you release your first song on Spotify. Basically, it's the feeling whenever you have the thought in your head, whenever the thought pops into your head, whenever that voice, that little voice in your head, whenever it goes, "Who are you to be doing this? Who are you to be doing this?" It's that like, who are you? Who am I to be doing this? Who am I to release the song to Spotify? Who am I to go get that new job? Who am I to go ask that girl or guy on a date? Who am I to? It's all imposter syndrome, and we all experience it. But here's the difference, and here's what you really need to understand about imposter syndrome. It's not that some people don't experience it, although I'm sure there are some, because as with any statistics, there are always the exceptions. But I'm willing to bet that those who don't experience imposter syndrome are psychopaths. So, assuming you're not a psychopath and you experience imposter syndrome to some degree, here's the difference between an artist and a wannabe artist. An artist makes music anyway. They both feel imposter syndrome. Both the artists, both the wannabe artists, they both feel it. They both hear that voice in their head that goes, "Who are you to be doing this?" But the true artist makes music anyway and pushes through that resistance. That is the key, my friend. If you can push through that resistance, then you can be an artist. But imposter syndrome, everybody experiences it. Heck, John Mayer experiences it. So songwriting truly is about showing up consistently, waiting for the magic to happen. And that magic will not happen. First of all, the magic won't happen if you don't show up at all. That's clear cut. It's not going to happen if you don't show up and at least turn the engine to see if it starts. If you don't turn the key at all, then it's guaranteed to fail. That car is not going to start. Now, it's not guaranteed that on any given day when you do show up, it's not guaranteed that any magic is going to hit you. But it's about as close as you can get to a guarantee is if you show up consistently and you commit to maximizing your talents and making the most of what you have, you are going to find some gold. You are going to strike gold eventually, and you are going to start to capture that magic in your songwriting, in your production, in your mixing, whatever, the focuses are in your musical journey. You will experience the magic if you show up consistently. It's not going to happen every day, but those in-between days where you don't feel that magic, those prepare you for the days where you do. So all of it's important. So keep showing up, my friend. Don't worry about it. Everybody experiences imposter syndrome. Everybody has that voice in their head. And you just got to push through unless you want to be a wannabe artist. And I don't want to be a wannabe artist. I hope you don't want to be a wannabe artist either. So that is the first insight that I learned from John Mayer, is that you and I, we're always going to feel like beginners, especially when it comes to the beginnings of the next song that we're trying to write. Insight number 2 that I learned from John Mayer is, I love this one. This is write small. Now, this is also, I think, from that same interview with Apple Music, where John Mayer talked about how he has such a hard time writing songs about very large concepts, right? Songs about the universe, songs about, just again, large, gigantic concepts. Okay, let's just call it gigantic. So the underlying idea here, before I tell you the quote from John Mayer, the underlying idea here is that, this is so beautiful. If you try to paint the entire universe, you can't do it. That's impossible. If the entire universe is your canvas from which you're trying to paint a painting, good luck with that. Nobody can do it. But what can you do as an artist, as a painter? You can paint a 5-inch canvas, a tiny little canvas that fits on the palm of your hand. That is when you can start creating art. And so when John Mayer, when he talked about, this idea of he finds it really, really difficult to write about very large concepts. Right on the heels of that, he said this quote, "If I write a song about the size of a glass of water and I do it right, I notice a week later, it's got the universe in it." How magical is that, right? So it's all about writing small. Don't try to write big songs. Don't try to write profound songs, right? Just mammoth songs. No, write small. And John Mayer's great at this. John Mayer's so good at this. I mean, look at the hooks and the titles of some of his songs. Say what you need to say, right? Say what you need to say. Say what you need. That is such a tiny little concept. Just say what you need to say. It's so informal, It's something you would say to your spouse or your friend who's not really opening up to you, and you know that they need to, and they're not telling you something that you know they need to tell you, and you just in frustration, say what you need to say, right? That's the start of a song. That's that tiny little phrase, that tiny little concept. Say what you need to say. Another one. It shouldn't matter, but it does, right? I don't know, man. It shouldn't matter, but it does. Notice how he's not talking about I gaze towards the heavens and this super large and very in awe of the universe type of approach to songwriting. No, this is what's called coffee shop poetry. This is just conversational poetry. This is writing small. One more example from a John Mayer song is Why You No Love Me. Why You No Love Me, right? And also love how it's completely wrong grammar-wise. But it has this feeling of what John Mayer describes as that inner child. It's that kid inside of you that is just kind of doesn't really know the correct way to say something, but that's just what comes out, right? It's not like, why can't you love me? It's as a tiny child, you say, why you no love me, right? And that's another example of just write small and write it in an authentic way and get over that feeling of you gotta be profound or you gotta write about really big things and it's gotta be super like broad and encompass. No. Narrow it all down. As John Mayer says, let me go back to that quote again. If I write a song about the size of a glass of water and I do it right, I notice a week later, it's got the universe in it. Because the universe will be present in the tiniest of concepts if you do it right. Or if you find the gold simply, and this goes back to the first insight, if you show up consistently, if you show up and you really want to get better, you will stumble across the gold. It will present itself to you, but you need to go look for it. So that is insight number 2 from John Mayer, write small. And finally, insight number 3 that I learned from John Mayer is everything comes back to believability. Super important stuff. I know you've probably heard me talk about this before, and in this course I talk about it a lot as well, is this idea of, do you believe the song? Do other people believe you when you sing them your song? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. There's this great quote from vocal coach Brett Manning, and I think I mentioned this in another video from one of the bonus videos too, but I'll mention it here again because it's so good. And he said, when it comes to performing live or recording, the only thing he cares about, and this was his quote, I only care if you believe me. Doesn't matter if your hair's out of place, doesn't matter if, you got a stain on your shirt, whatever. If you're just be you. The only thing that matters is that the audience believes what you are putting forward. Now, John Mayer has a quote that's virtually identical to this, and it's very simple and very basic, and it goes, I'm just going for the stuff that sounds believable. That's the most important thing. Now, you might be asking, okay, Marcus, what are the ingredients exactly? What is it that is going to make my song sound believable? Well, let's go to the definition of what this is how John Mayer defines what a good song is. And we can imply in a good song that means it's a believable song, because there is no good song that isn't a believable song, right? So this could also double as saying, this is the definition of a believable song / good song, according to John Mayer, and it's this. When the music sounds like the lyrics, and the music and the lyrics together sound like the idea, and the music, the lyrics, and the idea together sound like the singer, then you got a song. Now, I know that's a mouthful, and there's a lot happening there, so you can ponder over that for the next 7 days, but don't feel like you even have to grasp that right now, because even I don't necessarily understand the depths of that. That's a very in-depth thing to think about. You don't necessarily have to understand it and analyze that to its core, because really what is happening, you can just tell when it's a good song. Your intuition is usually right. And so as long as you keep building your intuition and you keep building your skill levels, and again, if you keep showing up, this will start to make sense to you, to where it will start to feel like, the music sounds like the lyrics, and everything is connected. It makes sense, right? It's believable. It's the music and the lyrics together sound like the idea, and everything together just sounds like the singer. It all makes sense. And that all plays into this idea of, do you believe me? When I go to sing, do you believe me as the audience, as the listener? Do they believe you? That is what matters. So there you go, my friend. Those are 3 of my favorite insights that I've learned from John Mayer. These have helped me so much. And so I hope they help you as well. I hope these are encouraging to you. And if they are, let me know in the comments which one of these was your favorite one, or if there were any light bulb moments in this video, because I would love to know which of these insights really spoke the most to you and which had the most impact. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.